What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for another review of 90 Day Fiance Season 11, The Tell All Part 2. First of all, before we get into it, I have to give a big thank you to TLC for making this Tell All only 2 parts. So they saved us from a lot of suffering. 2 parts is absolutely perfect because we can quickly move on with the stories, and there's not all of this time to where they feel like they have to fill in the gaps, or they have to fill in 4 hours or 6 hours worth of programming, and then we get a lot of nonsense like we did last time, where they were all living together in the same house, and so we had to see what was going on in the house. Then we had to see what was going on at the actual tell-all and all this. Sometimes the behind the scenes stuff is a little bit too much behind the scenes. So I think 2 parts was absolutely perfect. Now let's get into it. So the second part starts off with Shakina and Ameny. Okay, now I've learned her name is Ameny because she corrected Shakina when Shakina called her Amani, because to me, when I look at it, it looks like Amani, but it's actually Ameny. So Shakina and Ameny are still going back and forth, and about Shakina asking Ameny if Ani was trans, and then Ameny running to go tell Ani what Shakina said and all that other stuff. So basically this internet beef that they started amongst themselves. So Shakina says that she did not call Ani trans. She only asked if she was trans. And I'm like, Shakina, it doesn't really make any difference. The damage has already been done. You're saying the same thing. No matter how you phrase it, you're still saying the same thing. And Aaliyah steps in and says that, when it comes to trans women, the public is always looking to see the masculinity in them. So when Shakina asked Ameny if Ani was trans, she was insulting Ani, as far as like saying that Ani is appearing masculine. There's something about her that's a bit masculine, because when it comes to trans women, people are trying to see the male features. So I think Aaliyah's point was, regardless of whether you were asking or telling or whatever the situation was, you were basically saying that you see something very masculine about Ani, and it was a very weird comment to make, which it totally was. So Matt's friend comes out. I forgot his name, but this is the friend that is also, or was in a throuple. He used to be in a throuple. And the friend basically said that it was really weird that Ani and Ameny were not having sex. And that Matt was able to enjoy both of them, either all three of them together or each woman one on one. It seems like Matt was getting all the fun, but the two women never had fun together. And he thought that that was really strange, because he said in a throuple, we're all supposed to be, enjoying each other. I don't agree with that. I think each polyamory type relationship can set their own boundaries, and they can have their own do's and don'ts. And so not everybody has to interact with everybody else one on one. So I think it's perfectly fine and okay if, for whatever reason, Amani and Ani have never been together. But Matt has been with each woman individually, and he's been with them both at the same time. I see nothing wrong with it. If that's how they get down, that's how they get down. So then they show the clip of Ani and Amani's big fight towards the end of the season, where Ani had brought up that she was waiting for Ameny to send her some money so she can pay rent. And supposedly Ani was trying to send the money, but it wasn't going through, and she didn't understand. And so then Ani was like, you're using your money to control me, but I'm not going to be controlled by you. And that's when this huge fight started. So Shawn asked, exactly what caused the fight. And it was really about Ani not receiving the $4,000. Someone said it wasn't that much money. I don't know who said that. I think it was Ani. Someone said, oh yeah, she was just trying to send me a little bit of money. It wasn't that much money. And then they said it was $4,000 that she was trying to send over to Ani so she can pay her rent. By the way, when they showed the clip of the fight, y'all, Ameny looks completely different. Now, we talked about this last time, how, so she's had her surgery, she looks a lot different. When I actually saw her in the clip and then seeing her on stage, she looks like a completely different person. Everything about her face and her body is completely different. It is bizarre. So they talk about the fight over the money. Um, Shawn, as he was listening to this and watching the clip and everything, he got really affected by Amany's behavior. He almost got emotional about it, like he was trying to hold back tears when he was telling Ameny that, it was really wrong of you to throw her occupation back in her face and to use that to criticize her when you probably met her in a strip club. You had no issues with her being a stripper when you decided to be with her and include her in your family. And now you're throwing her occupation back at her. Like, he was really affected by that. I was like, I didn't understand why that bothered him so much, but it did. Ameny did apologize to Ani. She said that she did apologize to her for saying the things that she did, saying not only during that fight, but the other fight that they had, where she had said that she had told Ani, you can't make a whore into a housewife. So she apologized for her bad behavior overall. So Juan chimes in and says that when it came to the money exchange, he says that there were all kinds of red flags around Ani. So Juan was implying that Ani is with Matt and Ameny strictly for money, that this is just a money grab situation and that she's just using them for money. Of course, Ani was offended by this. She starts off by calling Juan a cheater, saying that he cheated on his wife. And then she goes on to talk about how she makes more money than him. And I was confused when she said that, because if you're making more money, then Juan was like, well, how do you know how much money I'm making? If you're claiming that you're making more money than Juan, basically you're flexing on your finances. And if you got it like that, Ani, why were you so upset that Ameny couldn't send you the $4,000? Why did that bother you so much if you got it like that? So I didn't understand why, on the one hand, she's flexing in front of Juan about how much money she's making. But on the other hand, she had a breakdown because her rent money couldn't come through from Ameny. So Ani says that she's never, ever had to ask Ameny and Matt for money. And Ameny and Matt, they did agree with that. They're like, yeah, she doesn't ask for money, but when she really, really needs it, if she's going through, I guess, a difficult situation, we'll step in and we'll help her out. And I think Matt said that they spent like $60,000 on not just money, but like giving her cash, buying her things. Like, it's all total to about $60,000. I'm just like, wow. Either y'all are rolling in dough, or y'all's priorities are absolutely messed up, because that $60,000 could have gone. And I'm not saying that their children are not well taken care of and that their children's futures are not already secure. They probably are, but you can never set aside enough money for your children. And if you got it like that, where you're giving somebody that some another adult who is very sufficient, she acts like she's sufficient and independent and she can take care of herself financially. If you can throw away $60,000 to her, that money could have gone to y'all's kids, but whatever. So Juan says, like, why would you ever have to need money from them? Because you said that you make all this money. And Amany admits that if she, so then they cornered Ameny. They basically were like, hey, do you give her money because you feel as if you have to keep her? In other words, if you didn't give her money, she wouldn't be with y'all. And she was like, yeah, basically that's what it boils down to. She keeps giving her money and taking care of her financially because she believes that if she didn't, then Ani wouldn't stay with them. But then my question is, what is she doing for y'all? Y'all are doing a lot for her, so we see why she's in this. But what is Ani doing for y'all that you feel like you need to keep her in your life? That's why I think this whole throuple thing was fake from the beginning. Like, I don't believe that this is a real throuple. I don't believe that they're going to get a divorce so that Matt can marry Ani and bring her to the United States and live with them in their house and help raise their children together. I don't believe that at all. I just don't. It doesn't make any sense to me. And then the fact that Matt, he can never stand firm on anything. If Ameny is good with Ani, then Matt's good with Ani. If Ameny is not good with Ani, then Matt's not good with Ani. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I just, like, y'all are paying to keep her, but what is she doing for y'all? She lives in a whole nother country. So it's not like y'all see her all the time or y'all have access to her. Y'all have access to each other all the time. It's only whenever y'all can travel to Mexico or travel to whatever country where y'all can both meet in. The only one sleeping with her is Matt. And Matt acts like it doesn't really matter to him. It's whatever Ameny wants. But why would Ameny keep a woman around just to sleep with her husband and not even sleep with her? So, like, what is she providing for this couple that they feel the need to spend $60,000 on her? What is she giving to them? So, so I was like, if she leaves a relationship, so what? What are y'all really losing? If Ani's like, okay, y'all are not taking care of me anymore, so I don't want to be with y'all, how are they losing anything? Sarper says, Sarper asks Ani, do you still strip? And Ameny answered for her initially, and she was like, oh no, she quit doing that a while back. And then Sarper was like, I want Ani to answer the question. Ani, do you still dance? And Ani was like, of course I do. And Ameny had no idea. I don't know what Matt thought. I guess Matt thinks whatever Ameny thinks. Ameny had no idea that Ani was still stripping. So Greg and Sarper both were like, you know what? There's just too many holes in this story because Ani is keeping a lot of information from them, which she has been doing that since day one. Like they didn't even know her real name. She's been keeping a lot of information from them. She only tells them what they want to hear, and she only reveals things about herself on a need to know basis. So so Sarper and Greg were like, yeah, this whole situation, is real funny. It's really strange. It's not making any sense. So Matt and Ameny claim that they have already hired a divorce attorney to begin the divorce process. And I really don't think Ani cares either way if they stay married or if they get a divorce. I don't think Ani cares. I don't think Ani is as invested in Matt and Ameny as they are in her. They want to break up their marriage so that Matt, because Ani decided that she wanted to marry Matt and not Ameny. They want to break up their marriage legally so that Matt can marry Ani and bring her over here. And it seems like Ameny really doesn't have that much of a bond with Ani. It isn't. That's what it seems to me. Matt doesn't seem like he has much of a bond with her either. Everything seems to be based on sex, even though they claim that the relationship is not based on sex. But that's the only thing that's going on. Look, it's just the whole thing is weird. The whole thing is absolutely weird to me. So, but they claim they've gotten a divorce attorney. They've already talked to a divorce attorney, and yeah. So during the break, they take a break and everybody's backstage. Ameny pulls Sarper and Shakina to the side, and she basically was going to apologize to them and try to make amends with them. So she starts off with Sarper by telling Sarper that, I thought you were going to be a real a-hole to me, but you weren't. You treated me really respectfully and blah, blah, blah. And she says, at the end of the day, I actually do like you. And she kind of tells Sarper, be careful, because she said the same thing to me. So then here we go. We're off to the races again. Shakina and Ameny are going back and forth. They start arguing again. Shakina then walks away and she leaves and she goes into her little dressing room. So Matt calls Shakina catty. He calls her sour apples. Ameny is asking Sarper, how do you even put up with her? Because she's a whole lot to handle. And I feel like when Matt started calling Shakina names, I think that Sarper should have said something because that is his wife. He should have stepped up and should have said something, but he didn't. So when Shakina went to her dressing room, she tells Sarper, because Sarper follows her in there, she tells Sarper, you should have stood up for me, and I don't understand. I'm used to men who are very protective. And Sarper tells her, we'll go find you one then. This tension between Sarper and Shakina, I'm not buying that either. I think it's for the cameras. I think it's all for show. I think in real life, Sarper and Shakina are just fine. I don't think that they're having these deep marital issues. I think they're just putting on for the cameras because, like I've always said, they still have to make a stop at the last resort. They're going to hit every single 90-day franchise until they get their own show, either on TLC or somewhere else. But they do not plan on leaving television anytime soon. So they're just setting up the stage that they need all this therapy and they need all this counseling so they can show up on the last resort. Sarper tells us that the reason why he didn't really want to say anything to Matt was because he knew that it was going to turn physical. He didn't want it to go that. He didn't want it to go that far. So then they get back on stage and they bring this energy back on stage. So Shakina tells Sarper, while they're sitting up there next to Shawn, that she doesn't feel like she's heard. She doesn't feel protected by him. And you can tell that Sarper is sick and tired of hearing this song and dance from Shakina, because all he can do is just roll his eyes. And so then to shut her up once and for all, he gets up, he walks off stage. We think that he's upset or something, but no, he actually goes to get a ring. He comes back and he presents Shakina with this really gorgeous wedding ring set. I mean, this diamond was huge and sparkling and it was really pretty. And it was like I think it was like what do they call? I don't know if it was an emerald cut solitaire. It was really gorgeous. So he presents her with this upgraded wedding ring set, and yeah, that did shut her up. She was quiet for a while. She quit her whining. So he told him that this cost him half of his savings in Turkey. He's been saving his money for this wedding ring set because she had always wanted, I guess, something bigger and grander, and he had promised her, and he delivered on his promise. And Matt actually congratulated them. Ameny said nothing. During the break, because I had another break, Ameny tries once again to make up with Shakina and Sarper, and so she congratulates, because they're all standing up on stage during the break, and everybody wants to see Shakina's ring, so she's showing it off, and Ameny congratulates Shakina. Shakina ignores her, and I think Ameny also asked to see the ring, and Shakina just kind of really lazily, showed her the ring and then walked off. When we're back on stage again, we are now into the Juan and Jessica segment. So Juan has his green card and he is working. They asked him, what do you do? He says that he does delivery. He says that he's very much in debt because back in Colombia, he was in investment. He was in investment property, building apartment buildings or whatever, building homes and whatever. And so because he's not there anymore and he's not making a living right now or not making enough money, he's gone into debt and he's unable to pay off, I guess the money that he borrowed for his investment properties. Because he had a construction company back in Colombia. And so then they bring out Danielle from the whole Danielle and Johan fiasco. They bring out Danielle. She comes out and Shawn asked her, the last time that I saw you, it got really, really ugly between you and your husband, Johan. So how are y'all doing now? Where are y'all at now? And Danielle says that they're back together. Now, I just want to take a moment to give Danielle some shine, to put the spotlight on her for a little bit, because obviously this woman is very desperate for attention. So the thing about Danielle that absolutely sickens me is that when they were on 90 Day Fiance, I think they were on 90 Day Fiance the other way, at their tell all, she ran a campaign to absolutely ruin Johan's reputation. And she successfully convinced everybody on stage, all of her castmates, that Johan was the worst husband in the world because he was cheating on her with multiple women. According to Danielle, Johan was bringing women back to the apartment that she paid for, because remember, Johan wasn't making enough money to do much of anything. So she was paying for the apartment, paying all the bills. And she said that when she was at work or wherever the hell she was, Johan would bring women to the apartment to sleep with them, and that she had been in contact with some of these women. They have been messaging back and forth. They've been communicating back and forth with some of these women, and they confirmed with her that, yes, I've been seeing your husband. He's taking me to your apartment. I can tell you exactly what your apartment looks like. And so she came with a binder with all of this evidence, because, Danielle is all about evidence. She had all this evidence to prove that Johan was this horrible, horrible person, that he was emotionally and mentally abusive to her. Just like ran a very, 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 very serious campaign to make him look horrible and to make everybody hate him. It was a hate campaign. And she was crying and she was trying to garner all of this sympathy for herself. And she was successful. The last holdout, the last person to defend Johan, but then they had to switch over to Danielle's side because, all of her evidence was so convincing, was Armando. Armando was the last one to flip over to Danielle's side. Everybody on that stage at that tell all that year hated Johan. Now she's back with him. If that's not demented and delusional, I don't know what the hell is. You put all this energy and effort into making your husband look bad, and now you're back with him. And you are expecting us to be very supportive of this and to clap our hands and congratulate you for reconciling with your husband after you tried so hard to make the whole entire world hate him. Because you couldn't get your way, because he wasn't going to give in to your foolishness and your silliness. He wasn't going to be controlled by you. Not only was she running this campaign to make everybody hate him, but she was really good at emasculating him, talking down to him. She was extremely condescending to him. She wasn't supportive of any of his dreams and aspirations. She wanted him to make a whole bunch of money. And when he tried to make a whole bunch of money by starting his own business, she poo-pooed all over that. It wasn't good enough for her. She wanted him to do what she wanted him to do. And if he resisted, if he wanted to do his own thing, then she would, get really upset, get really, really angry. And, she wants everybody else to feel the same way about him. She really, really pissed me off. I am not a Danielle fan at all. But I have to give credit where credit is due. When she was on the stage tonight, and she was, addressing Juan and Jessica, I agreed with her with a lot of her points when it came to Juan and Jessica and that damn friend, Megan. But I really don't see it for Danielle. I don't see it for her at all. There's something wrong with her. There's something seriously wrong with this woman. But I did agree with her when she made her points about Juan and Jessica's relationship. Okay, moving on from there. So she said that one more thing about her and her husband. She told Shawn Robinson that all she ever really wanted, I guess, to give an explanation as far as why she went back to Johan. She said all she ever really wanted from Johan was, what did she say? All she ever really wanted was for Johan to acknowledge her. That's all she ever wanted. And once he did that, then she was ready to go back to him. Just stupid. So Megan comes out, Jessica's weird, crazy best friend, Megan, who I believe is, secretly in love with Juan. She comes out and she said that she still stands by what she said during the season, that she would ruin Juan's life if he ever hurt Jessica. And I need somebody to ask her, pray tell, how are you going to go about ruining his life? What do you mean by this? You're going to try to get him deported? What do you mean when you say you're going to ruin his life? What ability do you have to ruin someone else's life? What exactly would you do to ruin this man's life, which in turn would ruin the life of his child? What exactly would you do, Megan? I wish somebody would have asked her to clarify and provide details on how she would ruin this man's life, because she really stands 10 toes down whenever she says, I'm going to ruin his life if he ever hurts my friend. How are you going to do that? So Juan tells her basically, you need to just stay out of our lives, stay out of our business, out of our relationship. And Megan responds so maturely by saying, bye, bitch. And Jessica, of course, just sits there completely mute as this woman insults her husband, always on mute whenever it comes to Megan criticizing her husband. She doesn't say anything. The father of David, okay? She always says nothing when Megan comes for Juan. So Shawn asks Jessica, how do you feel about the fact that Megan goes so hard for you and she's all about protecting you? And Jessica says, well, I'm a grown woman. I don't need protection. Well, we can't tell, Jessica. We can't tell, because when Megan is in her protective mode, when she puts on her cape and she thinks that, she's your superhero, and she goes and she tries to destroy your husband, you say nothing. So it's almost as if you do enjoy her treating your husband like this. Ameny asked, why is Megan so emotionally invested? And she asked this after they showed the clip of Megan crying when she found out that Juan had slept with this other woman. when he was working on the cruise ship. Very basically, he cheated. And she started crying about this. And so Ameny was like, why are you so emotionally invested? Like, you were crying. Jessica, her eyes were dry as a bone. And here you are falling over, having a complete breakdown because your friend's husband, you just found out that he cheated on your friend. And Jessica had already dealt with it. Jessica had, she had moved on. She moved past it. Her and Juan had already talked about it. They came to whatever conclusion that they came to, decided to stay together. They've all moved on. Like, why are you breaking down? Like, why is this so emotional for you? And Megan responds by saying that she's been a part of their relationship since day one. Megan, do you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth, sweetheart? Do you hear what you're saying? Do you see how crazy you sound? I've been a part of their relationship since the beginning. Like, how can you say that with a serious face and you think there's nothing wrong with it? I could never say that I've been involved in my friend's relationship because a relationship only takes, the people that are in it. I'm not in their relationship. Like, I don't understand. You could have said I've been very supportive of Jessica since she's been with Juan, but for you to say, well, I've been very involved in there, it just shows that you have no life. And you got a husband, you got kids, but it seems like you're so, so, so invested in what's going on with Juan and Jessica. Danielle tells Megan, you need to step back. As much as you love your friend and you want her to be okay, you're going to have to step back and let these people deal with their own relationship. And I agreed with Danielle when she said that. And I cannot stand Danielle. I can't stand her. But I was agreeing with her when it came to how she was trying to knock some sense into Megan. Megan thinks that Juan can do a lot better job wise. So they talk about the fact that Megan and her husband, they pulled strings to try to get him some better paying jobs in their area. Every single job that they've offered him, he's turned it down, and he wants to stick to whatever the hell he's doing, which is delivery. And so everybody was kind of shocked that he was given all these other opportunities, but he's not taking them. And they asked Jessica how she felt about it, and Jessica was like, he does whatever he wants to do, and it is what it is. So then the question was, why don't y'all just leave Wyoming? If you can't get the job that you really like in Wyoming, why don't you just leave Wyoming? Well, they can't leave Wyoming because Jessica has a custody agreement with the father of her two boys. She's got split custody, or she's got shared custody with the father of her two boys, so she just can't take the boys and leave the state. That's impossible. So they talk about Juan going back on the cruise ship, and Juan says he's not going to do that because of his son. He said that he can make up to $900 a day just in tips alone. If he can make that kind of money, and I'm not saying that they need the money because Megan told us that Jessica makes $100 an hour, so whatever. They don't really need the money like that. But if you can make $900 in a day on a good day just from tips alone, like, I don't understand why you don't go back on the cruise ship. Now, he says he's not going to go back on the cruise ship because he doesn't want to be away from his son. But there are plenty of people, and I'm not saying that it doesn't seem like he has to go back on the cruise ship because they're not that desperate for money. So I can understand him like, hey, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I want to be around to raise my kid. But there are people who are away in the military or who work overseas, and they can't be around their children for extended periods of time. So now we have FaceTime, and I know it's not the same as being there every day physically for your child, but if push came to shove, he needs to reconsider getting on the cruise ship. That's all I'm saying. It's not, I don't live their lives. I don't know what their family dynamic is all about, but I don't think it's going to be the worst thing in the world. It's not like he abandoned his child. He's just trying to make a better life for his family, making $900 a day. I know it's not every day. I know it's only on a good day. But damn, overall, it seems like he can make really good money in tips working on the cruise. So Danielle, so Megan says, well, instead of you saying, Megan tells Juan, instead of you saying, well, I'm not going to go on the cruise ship, because I want to be here for my son, you should say, I want to be here for my son and my wife. And Danielle steps in and tells Megan, hey, that's none of your business. Leave that up to them. If it's bothering Jessica, she'll let it be known that it's bothering her. But if it's not bothering her, like, shut the hell up. So then they talk about Juan's DMs. They talk about how all of these women have come out of the woodwork, and they've landed in Juan's DMs, and they're like, they're after him. They want to be with him. They're telling him to drop Jessica and come be with me and all this other craziness. And he said that he responds to the DMs. And everybody on stage was like, no, Juan, do not ever respond to the DMs. And he's like, oh, what's wrong with responding to the... He's like, no, don't respond to the DMs. Y'all, I'm beginning to wonder if Juan is actually happy living with Jessica in Wyoming. I'm beginning to really question that. With his history of cheating, I would think that he would know better and not give the women in his DMs the light of day and the any time, any attention at all. But he claims that Jessica has access to his social media, so she sees what's going on in the DMs. So he's not doing anything nefarious. But okay, that's fine. What else can I say? Jessica sees everything that's going on, and there's nothing bad going on, and she's cool with it. So let's move on to Danielle versus Shakina, because Shawn Robinson wanted to spend some time on this silliness. So there's this online beef between Danielle and Shakina. I don't even know how it started. I really don't care about what's going on online between Shakina and Danielle, but because whatever they said to each other when the last time they're on the tell all together carried over onto the internet. And they accused each other of paying for bots to go in and send hate comments on each other's social media. They accused each other of paying for interviews, or one accused the other that they're paying for these interviews. One accused the other of paying for bots to come and attack them in their comment section. It was just all so silly and immature. I really don't care about that. They themselves don't care about it that much. I don't know why Shawn wanted to talk about it. Then we all go on yet another break. And this is when all hell broke loose. So Marty was talking to his wife, Stevie, and saying that he didn't like how Shakina was being ganged up on, and he didn't like liars. And I think he was accusing Danielle of lying when Danielle said that Shakina pays for bots to send hate comments on her social media platform. So these bots, portray themselves as, you think that these are people commenting, but they're not real people. It's just bots leaving really negative messages. So she accused Shakina of paying for these bots to come and attack her. And this really struck a nerve with Marty for some reason. And so he wanted to address it. So he tells Danielle, why are you accusing Shakina of paying for bots? And Danielle said, I didn't accuse her of doing that. I didn't say she did that. I just said that she probably did that or something like that. Now we're splitting hairs. So then Ameny gets involved because she feels like Marty's attacking Danielle. And the whole thing was just ridiculous. I don't understand why Marty was so affected about this beef that's going on between Shakina and Danielle. I didn't understand why it bothered him so much. And he kept on saying very loudly, I hate liars. I can't stand liars. We all hate liars. Nobody likes liars. But what does this have to do with you, Marty? Exactly. Why are you so affected with what the hell Danielle and Shakina are going through? Why does that bother you so damn much? Danielle said that she's always honest, and because she's always honest, she's going to state a fact, and the fact is Shakina's a bitch. So Shakina and Sarper, because I guess they hear their names, they come out and they join the mayhem. So everybody's yelling at everybody. Shakina is on the verge of fake tears. Danielle calls her out on her fake crying. She's like, you're always crying, but I've never seen a single tear. I've never seen a single tear in your eye, but you're always crying. Marty is pointing at Danielle as he's talking to her because he's trying to make a point that she's lying about whatever accusations she's throwing about Shakina. Danielle gets in Marty's face and she starts pointing her finger in Marty's face. She doesn't want the finger pointed at her, but she gets out of her seat and walks up into Marty's face with her finger all up in his face. And I'm like, if you're trying to point out how aggressive someone is towards you, because as they're talking, they're waving their finger around, then why are you trying to get up and be just as aggressive or more aggressive by invading his personal space and putting your finger inches away from his face? I didn't understand why Danielle was doing that. Greg, once again, because he did this before, when it was between, I think, Shakina and Ameny. Um, the day before the last week's tell, I think. But Greg once again acts like he's gonna get up off the couch to go diffuse the situation, but he never really makes it off the couch. Aaliyah is just sitting there eating her lunch. You know, her face is like going back, and her head is going back and forth like a tennis match, watching, you know, this fight take place. Danielle accuses Marty of ganging up on women. He's not ganging up on women, sweetheart. He's ganging up on you. He's addressing you specifically. He's not ganging up on women. Let's stop the madness. So finally, thank God, Danielle has to leave. So we get back on stage. We're resuming the tell-all. Now it's time for Mark and Mina. So we find out that Mina was an exotic dancer 8 years ago. I think Mina is one of those women that is always on the hunt for a rich man. I think that's her MO. And I think she's just one of those type of women that she's always on the hunt for wealthy men. So 8 years ago, she was a dancer, but she did not meet Mark at the strip club. They didn't meet there. And then we also find out that Matt and Sarper, we all knew that Sarper used to be a dancer, but we also find out that Matt was also a stripper as well, which makes Amani's comment to Ani, you know, about you can't turn a whore into a housewife even more hypocritical because your own husband was a stripper. Like, Ameny, what's wrong with you? You want to degrade Ani for being a stripper, but your own husband used to be a stripper. Then Mark's daughter Jordan comes out, and let me tell you something real quick about Jordan. What kind of bothers me about Jordan, besides what we've seen on TV, I had caught one of her lives a couple of months ago. I don't know how long ago it was. She was doing a live, I think, and somebody was asking her, like, you know, you come off really mean on the show. And Jordan was like, oh, that's just TV. That's just TV. You can't believe everything that you see. It's just TV. I am so sick and tired of reality TV stars saying this whenever they realize that they were made out to be the villain, or that people see them as the villain, or they get a lot of backlash from the public. You know, who else did this was Jessica. In one of her lives, somebody said to her, you were really mean to your husband on the show. And her response was, y'all, it's just TV. It's just TV. So when you are in a positive light, when people are like, oh my God, I love you. I love you on the show. I think you're a great wife. You're a great mother. Do you tell them, oh, it's just TV? It's just TV. I really get sick and tired of that, because it makes me wonder, how much are you willing to, like, how much does it take for you to get on a show, to make yourself look, because it's just TV, right? None of this is real, right? So if you come off in a negative light, or if you come off as a villain, or if you get a lot of hate for how you were portrayed on this particular show, and you want to defend yourself by saying, oh, it's just TV, it's not real, y'all. Like, how much of yourself are you willing to sell for money to look bad? What is your price tag? What is enough money for you to look like a horrible, evil, disgusting person, all for a check, because it's all just TV and it's not real? Like, how much are you willing to sell yourself for? Not much, because a lot of y'all end up living very average lives, like the rest of us, practically living paycheck to paycheck, when all the cameras go away and nobody can even remember your name anymore. So is it worth looking like if this is all fake, and it's just how you're edited, or this is what the producers told you to do, and this is all so fake, and you're not like this at all, how much are you willing to sell yourself for? A couple of thousand, a couple of hundred? Like, what's going on here? And if it's just TV, if you're loved, and you know, people are just, they adore you so much, and you know, they can't get enough of you, they want to see more and more of you because they love you so much, do you tell your supporters, y'all, I'm not really like that, it's just TV? That's how Jordan was. So it didn't surprise me that she came and she sat on that couch, all of a sudden very apologetic towards Mina. So they show us the hot tub scene where Mina and Mark were sitting in the hot tub, and Mina was calling Jordan a snake and calling her all these other horrible things. Calling her a hypocrite and calling her a snake. And Jordan admitted that she probably judged Mina too harshly and too soon. Yeah, she's trying to fix her reputation after coming off as like a really horrible person on this show. Mark admitted that he did add to the tension between his wife and his daughter because he betrayed both of their confidences by telling the other what the other said about them. So he did take accountability for that. Like he did add fuel to the fire when he would, tell Mina what Jordan said and tell Jordan what Mina said. Jordan is okay with them having more children. And in fact, Mark was like, well, if you're so okay about it, well, guess what? Mina's pregnant. Y'all, I swear to God, Jordan looked like she was going to pass out. But then Mark was like, oh no, we're just joking. I don't know why that's so funny to them because Mina did this to Mark at the end of their wedding. She told him that she was pregnant. And she was like, oh, I'm just kidding. Now Mark is doing it to the rest of us. Oh, Mina's pregnant. Oh no, we're just joking. Like, why is that? I don't understand why you keep on wanting to joke about her being pregnant. They're not using protection, so I guess they are open to having more children, that they do want to have more children. We talk a little bit about Clayton. Mina hasn't seen her son in 11 months, but she just got her green card. So now they're going to be able to travel. And so they do plan on seeing Clayton soon. But the funny thing is, nothing was mentioned about Mark adopting Clayton. That was not discussed at all, which was a big part of their storyline because otherwise Mina said that she wasn't going to sign the prenup. So the prenup wasn't discussed, and Mark adopting Clayton wasn't discussed. So now we have the Sarper comedy hour. So Sarper gets up and he starts, doing his little comic routine. And he used the throuple as the butt of all of his jokes. Moving on from there. Now we're talking about Shawn and Aaliyah. So as Shawn Robinson, the host, is introducing their segment, she barely gets a couple of words out when Shawn says, I just can't do this anymore. And he gets up and it's like he's going to walk off stage, but he actually walks over to, who did he walk over to? Marty. He walks over to Marty, and I guess there was like a hair sticking out or something, or a hair out of place, and Shawn just had to go fix it. So when he said, I just can't do this anymore, he couldn't stand looking at this hair that was out of place on Marty's head. Then we're joined by Kenny and Armando remotely from Mexico, and Aaliyah's friend Jackie also joins them on stage. So we find out that Shawn went on a honeymoon by himself after the wedding. Well, Shawn said it was not a honeymoon. He said he went to go visit a friend in Florida. The friend wasn't available or something. I don't know. So then he went out of the country on vacation by his damn self, which was, he went on a honeymoon by himself. And Aaliyah said, you were gone for a month. He didn't take Aaliyah with him because he was still extremely pissed off by her being late to their wedding. So he just took off and he left, which it was a honeymoon because a trip that's taken right after a wedding, which would have been taken by the both of them, we'd call it a honeymoon. So he went on a solo honeymoon. He tried to downplay it and like, no, I just needed time by myself. I needed to decompress. You went on the honeymoon by your damn self. So after that, he left. Okay, so Shawn, they show the clip of Aaliyah being late to the wedding. They show all of that. And after they showed the clip, y'all, Shawn unleashed the dragon on Jackie. She was late because of you. And what were you doing while she was getting ready, just sipping champagne and cracking jokes the whole entire time while we were waiting in that sweltering heat and my mom was injured and you weren't doing your job by keeping her on track so she can get to the wedding on time? He put all of the blame, or the majority of the blame, on Jackie. And Jackie was like, I could only do so much. And I was reminding her, I was giving her time checks, letting her know where we were at as far as time. Like, what more did you want me to do? Drag her by her hair to the wedding? Like, what else could I have done? And I agree with Jackie. I'm like, Shawn, like, pipe down. Aaliyah's a grown woman. She's the one that needs to be responsible with her own time management. It's nobody else's fault. Jackie is not there to babysit another grown adult. It was all on Aaliyah for dragging her feet while she was getting ready. They talk about their suffering sex life due to their open marriage. Because they have this open marriage, Shawn has been seeing other people. If I was Aaliyah, there's no way I could stay in this marriage. There's just no way I could stay in this marriage. I could not stay in a marriage where someone is wanting, demanding an open marriage, and they're seeing other people because they just don't want to be with me. There's just no way. I'm like, Aaliyah, know your worth, sweetheart. You are worth more than this. Absolutely not. I mean, I understood the open marriage thing when they were having a long distance relationship, because Shawn has needs, and Aaliyah was okay with it as long as he, was safe about it. Aaliyah was okay with it. But now that your wife is with you in your home, like, what is your excuse now? Like, why do you still need to have an open marriage? Especially where you're not giving her any attention. Like, you were giving her enough attention, but you just kind of want to switch up the flavor. And she understands. Maybe you still want to be with men who are masculine or whatever, but you're not giving her any attention at all, because she talked about how, number one, they're not having sex anymore. Number two, she says that her love language is touch, and she's not getting any physical touch from Shawn. None of that. And he's with other people because he doesn't want to be with Aaliyah. I don't know why Shawn and Aaliyah want to complicate things. Um, they try to make it seem like it's not about her transitioning. Like, it's not about that. But it is, because so Shawn has said the person that I fell in love with is no longer here. Okay. But he never follows that up by saying, I'm beginning to fall in love with this new person, or I'm finding a new attraction, or I'm finding myself, falling in love again with Aaliyah. Yes, I was in love with Douglas, but I'm finding new love with, he doesn't say anything like that. It's just the person I fell in love with is no longer here. And he ends it at that. And then whenever they ask him, are you still attracted to Aaliyah? He never gives a straight answer. It's almost like, he doesn't want to hurt her feelings by coming out and saying, no, I am not attracted to Aaliyah. Like, he doesn't want to say that because it would hurt her feelings. I don't understand how this marriage can survive. Shawn is attracted, and even Aaliyah herself said that Shawn is still attracted to masculinity. And because of her transitioning, she's not getting any type of love and affection from him, to the point where he's going outside of his marriage to be satisfied. Okay. So, she says that all physical contact has stopped between them. Aaliyah doesn't feel attractive or wanted. And they ask Shawn, are you truly in love with Aaliyah? At this point, Shawn says, yes, I will always be there for Aaliyah for life. Because Aaliyah was crying next to him. She was breaking down next to him. And he couldn't continue to be mean about it. So he decided to soften up a little bit and kind of switch gears and say, yes, I still love her, and I'm in love with her, and I'll always be there for her. Aaliyah then reads a beautiful text that basically, it was about how their relationship has evolved, but her love for him never changed. It was so beautiful. It was so touching. Um, People on stage were crying. It was such a beautiful message that she had written. And Shawn was also very touched by it. And then it drove him to apologize to Aaliyah for how he treated her at their wedding. So it seems like Shawn can be very emotionally manipulated by Aaliyah. I know that sounds really harsh, like she's doing this on purpose. She's not doing this on purpose. She's expressing herself, and by her doing this, it is manipulating his emotions, because like, he's completely flipped. But in the long run, I don't think this is going to last. I really don't think it's going to last. I think that Aaliyah is in this because she wants, and I know this is going to sound ugly as hell, if they are still together in real life, in real time, if they're still together, I think that Aaliyah is with him because she wants him to pay for her surgeries. I think that's why she's still with him. And I think that Shawn probably has no issue with that. I'm not sure. Or Shawn is still with Aaliyah, maybe because he just feels like he owes it to her to be with her. And like, he has Aaliyah, but then he can also go outside of his marriage and be with other people. So, it doesn't make any difference whether he's with Aaliyah or not. He can still do his own thing. This is the end of the tell all. Everybody's getting ready to leave and go home. Ameny once again goes looking for Sarper and Shakina because she wants to say goodbye to them, and she also invites them to dinner. She runs into Sarper and she's asked Sarper, do you want to come to dinner with us? Sarper says no. Sarper and Shakina said bye to everybody except for Ameny and Matt. Ameny said that, okay, so they go around, they say goodbye to everybody. They completely ignore Ameny and Matt. As they're walking away, Sarper and Shakina, as they're walking away, Ameny says goodbye to their backs and they don't respond. Shakina tells us that she wants Sarper to work on his anger issues and she wants them both to get therapy. Cue in the last resort. Shawn tells us that he'll take Aaliyah on a honeymoon. He promised to take her on a honeymoon. And it seems like Ameny is having second thoughts about this whole throuple situation because she's beginning to see how, or she's beginning to perceive how we perceive their throuple. That Ani is there just for monetary reasons. That she's just using them for money. And I think this is like finally sinking in into Ameny's head. And so she's having second thoughts about it. And because she's having second thoughts, Matt is also having second thoughts about it as well. That's all I'm going to mention. So I'm going to talk about because we are 50 minutes in. And that's it, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me. All in all, I give this entire season, I probably give it like between a C plus and a B minus because we got 90-day realness in Greg and Joan, in Mina and Mark, Juan and Jessica. Who else gave us 90-day realness? Somewhat Shakina and Sarper, but Shakina and Sarper, they're chasing the spotlight. But with those three couples, Greg and Mina, Juan and Jessica, not Greg and Mina and Mark, Greg and Joan, Juan and Jessica, I think they really represent what 90 Day Fiance is really all about. So I did enjoy watching them. They were not exciting and juicy and full of drama, but I just want to see the process of an international relationship. And they gave me that. So I probably give it like a C plus B minus. And then we have the fiasco. Aaliyah and Shawn, I don't get it. I don't understand why they're together. The Throuple, I think they're here just for because they're on another reality TV show. I don't know which one it was, but everybody's talking about how this is not their first go around. They were on another reality TV show years ago. So I feel like they're chasing the spotlight just as much as Shakina and Sarper. Shakina and Sarper, I think they are a real couple, but I think they are also an enterprise, and their goal is to stay on TV for as long as possible. That's it. That's all. Thank you so much for joining me. For everybody that's joined me throughout all of these reviews, I really do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. I truly do. Thank you. And if when 90 Day Fiance comes back, I hope we can all get back together again and enjoy the circus. Thank you so much. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.